Welcome to the Week 6 edition of Hit That Line. I'm your host, Zach Berry. We've got the full crew here this evening. Austin, Ben, Nick, here with us, picking games against the spread. The fellas are cruising right now, overall sitting at 36-24. Couple bad beats last week. Nick and Austin were brought down to earth a little bit, but we're still, as a whole, are doing quite well right now. We'll get into Ole Miss Arkansas and the Week 6 slate in the SEC and give you our locks for the week. But before we do that, of course, I do want to remind you of the sponsor that brings this show to you each and every week, and that is Homefield Apparel. I have really exercised restraint as the Campbell Camels line has dropped. It is, it is very nice. My goodness, you can get that all at homefieldapparel.com. But if you're not a big Campbell Camel fan, or you're not just a fan of just obscure, cool old vintage logos, you can obviously get your fill with the Ole Miss line that dropped earlier this year. And when you do, use promo code TOC23 to get 15% off your first order. I was rocking the Flood shirt today, heading to Oxford this weekend. I packed my Tad Pad shirt, gonna rock that around town. They've got the bomber jacket, they've got quarter zips, they got all kinds of stuff. The line is outstanding. When you place your order, be sure to use that promo code TOC23 and get 15% off. You will not regret it. It is incredible fabric. The shirts are just super comfortable. I personally prefer, if you're going to get a tee, I like to size up one, and it's just comfy, man, and it's good stuff. I look forward to what they're going to do in the future with Ole Miss, as once they unveil a collection, they typically add some things. Going to work with the folks over at Homefield, hopefully in the future, to bring more good-looking stuff. So that is homefieldapparel.com for all of your Ole Miss needs when it comes to vintage merch. Gentlemen, good evening. How are we doing going into Week 6?
Awesome after Saturday.
Yeah, man.
To say the least.
All-time night in the vault, frankly.
Man, the wonders of modern technology almost made me fire up the GoPuff to get some heaters, because stressful is the word that describes that game for me. Yeah, I wrote about it earlier today. Arguably the best win in the Lane Kiffin era. Is there any question there?
I mean, I don't really know what the argument is.
I think there's an argument for Tennessee at Neyland, right? There's an argument.
Road environment.
I would say
A&M at home in 21.
Yeah.
To me, the Tennessee wouldn't fall short because of what that Tennessee team ended. Like it felt really big because of like it was Kiffin going back to Knoxville, and the game itself was really big. But like nationally, I mean, it was like, what were they, 7-5 that year?
No,
so let's get something out of the way too. And Zach, this isn't picking on your question because it's something that everybody's been concerned with, is Kiffin getting the big win. And you take the COVID year out of it or whatever, even though I think that was a decent year for Ole Miss. When you are the 10-2 team, you are other teams' big win if they beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's
right.
We can say that LSU in 21 wasn't a big win, but it's as if it's just funny how that works. You can't have this both ways. Either you're the 7-5 team who upsets a couple of teams, or you are the only big win you can get. When you're 10-2, there's one big win on the schedule, and that's Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or Georgia. So, or one big win you can get, I guess I should say. So anyway, I mean, either way, I think that's probably his biggest win. I mean, with all that said, I don't know that. Go ahead.
I'll take it one further, Ben. I think a lot of people like to do the stat. What was the stat that was out a couple weeks ago with Kiffin where he was like 1-something against teams that won 9 games or more. And then he had a really bad record against teams that ended up ranked at the end of the year. I feel like that can be skewed a little bit because last year, the win over Kentucky at that moment was a huge win. Kentucky was, what were they, top 10, top 15? That was a big win. Will Levis had a ton of NFL buzz.
They may have been number 7.
I feel like they were top 10, were they not? I can effort it
I'm
real
looking
quick.
it up while you're talking.
Yeah, I think that's kind of silly of a stat to look at. Yeah, they were 7 and Ole Miss was 14. You're right, Ben. Because you can't control what happens after you beat said team when they're ranked.
Right.
Because injuries
and you
happen.
can't control how hard they're going to play after they take that loss.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's another thing that I can't say. It's like, well, let's look at them at the end of the year. Well, Arkansas, we may get a different Arkansas than LSU got, right?
Yeah, sure. Because definitely
if you
because
catch
I think
Alabama after a loss or two, you're going to get a different one than the Alabama that's undefeated. I mean, that's just reality.
Well, I mean, just week by week. I mean, LSU got a different Ole Miss team than Alabama got. They got a different Ole Miss team than Tulane got or Georgia Tech because now Ole Miss is pretty much full strength on offense with all the portal guys that were banged up and didn't play. I mean, Trey Harris looks like a different player. Caden Prieskorn's 100%. You have to think Zachary Franklin's pretty damn close to 100% and will be ready on Saturday. I mean, that's what, to me, was the difference on Saturday was just that offense clicking on all cylinders. The offensive line played great. Whatever John Garrison did in the interim from the Alabama game to LSU it worked. I'm not an offensive line guy. There's no sense in trying to break it down. I talked with Ben Steele earlier this week. You can listen to that podcast wherever you get them on the Talk of Champions Network. He did his best to break it down. But yeah, Judkins was great in the run game. Ulysses Bentley was outstanding. The offensive line was phenomenal. And then you had Prieskorn and Trey Harris having, their best game in an Ole Miss uniform. And then, oh, by the way, Dayton Wade and Jordan Watkins are still fantastic. So, yeah, week by week, it's hard to compare. Oh, well, you beat them in week 2, and now in week 7 they're terrible. Like you can only beat the team that's in front of you in on that given day.
Yeah, you don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. You don't know what injuries they're going to have that day. That's why you play 12 games, and it's why I think they're going to go to the bigger. Partly why they're going to go to the bigger playoff. I mean, obviously that's for money, but it allows for a little bit more room for error in the Power 5, particularly what we could probably call the Power 2 conferences. Is you've got a lot of really good teams, the Big Ten and the SEC typically, and those teams are just going to beat each other. That's what happens. I mean, like we talked last week, Ole Miss, it's not unique that Ole Miss went to Alabama and lost. Everybody loses at Alabama, just about. And so you have to play a great game, but then Ole Miss comes back and plays almost as flawless as you can. Did Ole Miss punt maybe once against LSU and then turned it over on downs once? But pretty much a perfect game offensively the next week and beats LSU, who is that the best offense that's ever played? Well, maybe other than the Burrow year that's ever played against Ole Miss in Vaught Hemingway. I mean, they are stacked on offense.
That Texas Tech offense in 03 was pretty damn good.
I mean, they were nasty. That's a different era, though, and defenses weren't really accustomed to seeing anything like that. They kind of took everybody by storm, particularly their non-conference opponents. But yeah, I think it's number 2, Ben. I'm not really sure there's an argument for like the drop off between 2 and 3 is pretty steep. Like, who would even have a case for
maybe Auburn because of Cam Newton? Maybe 07 Florida with Tebow and Percy Harvin.
Those Johnny Manziel A&M teams were good.
Yeah, the Manziel A&M. That's true. Yeah, they're pretty good.
But I mean, and then Tua's year in Alabama, but we were so bad, I don't even think about those years.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Ben,
when you're not competitive, it's hard to really judge,
Ole Miss punted twice and had turned over on downs once.
And I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know that anybody. We talked about this last week too, or over the past week. I'm not so sure that we've seen a quarterback perform at least as a passer the way Jaden Daniels did last Saturday. I mean, the guy is so accurate on the deep ball. It is ridiculous.
All right, this is gonna sound like it's maybe absurd, and y'all keep me in check here. Burrow was throwing to wide open dudes against us because we were terrible in the secondary and on the back end. I mean, he was throwing to guys who were 15 yards open. Daniels was dropping the ball into NFL windows. Our corners were covering those guys on those touchdowns. Now there were some times on drag routes and mesh routes where we were not in position and we tackled poorly. But on the touchdown throws, he was throwing into buckets. And I don't know what he could have done about that. Yeah, elite throws, NFL throws.
Yeah. Nothing you could do, particularly the one in the northwest corner.
Yeah.
I mean, he put it on the dude's hip on his outside shoulder. It was an incredible throw.
Yeah,
I did not
think
he had that in him.
You know,
I didn't think he had that in him. If he does that the rest of the year, LSU's going to be okay. I mean, I know they're out of title contention at this point, but they're going to be able to score against anybody. I just don't know if they're going to get enough stops for him, down the stretch. But
he should be a Heisman finalist if he plays like that the rest of the year.
I mean,
I can't imagine there being a handful of guys better than him. I mean, this is good.
They just won't win enough.
Yeah.
I mean, if Heisman history holds true, that'll be what holds him back.
I think Manziel won it at 9-3. I think.
Yeah, he did. He's gonna need a Heisman moment though. Like, I mean, to beat Caleb Williams, who is gonna do similar stuff because the USC defense is awful, and they're probably gonna go 11-1.
God, I should have taken that feature on Penix.
Say it again.
I should have grabbed that feature on Penix in the Heisman.
Maybe
Williams gonna be hard to beat, I think.
Yeah, maybe Daniels will beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That'll be a Heisman moment.
Penix will have his shot to beat Caleb Williams head to head. And SC's they've got a tough schedule.
There's another guy in the Pac-12 that's lurking out there too, by the way, guys. I mean, Bo Nix is going to have an argument.
Bodacious?
Look, if they run the table, and they might, he's going to have an argument.
Yeah. You've got SC's got Arizona this week. They'll handle them. At Notre Dame, home against Utah, at Cal, whatever. Then you've got Washington at home, at Oregon, UCLA at home.
It's so many good teams left in their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So right now they've got
a crazy schedule.
Three top 10 teams left. And that defense ain't it. I mean, but the
defense is so bad. In the same way with LSU, the defense is so bad, it's going to give him all the opportunities in the world to pad those stats because they just give the ball back so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And Lincoln Riley's going to keep slinging it no matter what.
Well, I was going to say they're going to need him to keep slinging it. It's not even going to be about padding stats. They're going to need to keep scoring. Otherwise, they're going to lose.
I just don't really get with the collection that LSU has. I mean, there's talent, especially up front. I don't have any clue how they're that bad defensively. I mean,
it's got to be a scheme thing. And we talked about it last week. They don't have dudes in the secondary like they normally do to clamp people down.
No,
I mean, we don't either.
But preseason, we said that since preseason. I think it's a combination. It's all the above. I think they had some misevaluations on high school kids. I think they had some misevaluations on portal guys. They've had some injuries back there. I think they're not very well coached. Their scheme is not great, and they don't really get a great pass rush. Like Perkins last year was an animal off the edge. This year he's kind of been pedestrian, and it doesn't help that they started him off in the wrong position against Florida State at inside backer. They finally kicked him outside. But, look, he didn't really have an impactful game against us.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, he had he had plenty of tackles, but he wasn't disruptive and in Dart's lap. I mean, Dart was not sacked in the LSU game. I don't think we're talking about that enough.
Yeah.
His jersey was only dirty from running.
There was a time in the third or fourth quarter where I thought Judkins was I guess it was the third quarter. I thought he was going to break it, and he basically closing speed, from behind. I think he's faster than Judkins, frankly.
Yeah, I do too.
There were 2 runs on that last drive that he almost broke, which hindsight, you're glad he didn't.
Yeah, shoestrings on a few tackles that night.
Because it would have been much more time for Jaden Daniels. But, okay, turning the page to Arkansas here. They're coming off 3 straight losses. Bad one at home to BYU, and then they lose to LSU in a bit of a shocker, I would think. On the road, they took them to the brink, and then they obviously lost last week to A&M. They lose Luke Haas. He's out for the year, broken clavicle. I thought he was their best offensive player with Rocket Sanders being shelved, and now he's back, but I don't think he's 100%. He had, I think, 33 yards rushing against A&M, which it's tough to run on A&M for anyone right now. But with him not being 100% and KJ Jefferson's kind of having to do everything on his own, they don't have a Traylon Burks. They don't have a Trey Knox. And the tight end, who was their biggest weapon, especially in the red zone, is out. I don't know if they're going to quit, because I think Sam Pittman is a good enough coach to where they'll play for him. He's a player's coach. Everybody likes him. I don't think they'll quit. I don't think it matters, though, because I think Ole Miss is going to be good enough offensively and at home under the lights. I mean, this is like your perfect situation right here if you're Ole Miss to you get the big night win against LSU. Now you get another night home game, and then you get to the bye. I'm inclined to lay the points here. I think Ole Miss handles business. KJ might keep a minute early running around, extending plays, but I think Pete Golding's going to be ready. They're going to have a plan. And to be honest, I think the Ole Miss offense is just going to kind of tell people, hey, it's fine. We got it.
What's the line?
11.5.
11.5 still? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Hogs here.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Sorry if anyone was wanting to take Ole Miss. It's not necessarily an anti-Ole Miss play so much as they don't be lulled into a false sense of security thinking that Arkansas Ole Miss game is going to be normal. There's not anything normal about this rivalry basically in the last decade. This game, rivalry, whatever. It doesn't happen. I think Ole Miss is 2 touchdowns better than them, but I just don't think they're going to beat them by 2 touchdowns on Saturday. I think Arkansas will. I mean, I don't think this is a dead Arkansas team. Ben said earlier in the week, if you get up early on them, this is a team that looks like it wants to quit. Maybe that's the case. I hope that's the case. Ole Miss gets up 14-0 and cruises. But I saw what they did last year in Fayetteville, and I get it. It's not Fayetteville. It's not the same team, really on either side of the ball for either team. But I just think that Arkansas Ole Miss is just too weird of a game for me to be laying, over a touchdown and a field goal. So I want Arkansas the points. Rocket Sanders still not playing this week. Is that right?
He's going to play. He's not 100%.
He's not 100%. There's no doubt. But I definitely think Jordan Jefferson, I saw what he did 2 years ago. I mean, this is a really big game for him. Jordan Jefferson. Not Jordan Jefferson. KJ Jefferson. Yeah. KJ Jefferson, big game for him.
I'm going to be honest with you, Nick. I was going to lock in Ole Miss.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad I got to before you. I just think this is what's going to happen this week. Ultimately, I also think that 2 consecutive weeks in a row of really big games for Ole Miss, it's hard to get up 3 weeks in a row. And I do see the bye week next week, so you can point to that and say, hey, we just got to get one more game, then you guys can go home, see your families for a week, whatever. But it's still difficult to do. I mean, that's played a physical team in Alabama. It required every single bit of the offense last week against LSU to win. So I just kind of see a little bit of a letdown game. I think the defense is still kind of reeling a little bit from last week. You talked about, Daniel's playing good and stuff, but I mean, KJ's a pretty good quarterback, and I think he's, kind of a different type of player than Daniels, but I think we're just going to have trouble bringing him down. I'm thinking something like 38-28.
If you want to join Nick in the cold plunge,
That is gross, by the way. Go ahead.
38-28 would be a dub, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
It would be, but I'm going to be mad at
38-28. If you want to get in the cold tub with Nick, I got a couple bags of ice I could throw in there. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss have had over 700 yards of offense 3 times in his tenure. The week after, Ole Miss has failed to cover.
Ooh, double lock.
So maybe not. Trends are meant to be broken.
Austin, go ahead.
I mean, I think Nick raises interesting points. Frankly, I'm completely staying away from the number here, so I got no interest in betting it. I think I'd just be so satisfied with a 1-point win that I don't really feel like I'm not really eager to argue with much that Nick said, just because I want to get the dub, stay healthy, and get into the bye week. I do think here's the thing: they cannot do what LSU's offense did to us. They just can't. They're not equipped to do that. They don't have the weapons out wide at receiver. KJ is not the quarterback that Daniels is, and even if he were, Arkansas's offensive line is bad, sneaky bad. That's one thing that year after year after year, no matter who their coach was over the years, you could almost count on them having a pretty salty offensive line, both in the run and pass game. And this year they just don't, man. They're struggling to run the ball even with Rocket Sanders. Their pass pro is terrible. Now, you can't really use the A&M game as a benchmark because A&M's front is nasty, and I think we're going to see that this weekend. We're going to see that play out against a really good offensive line. I think A&M though is among the best in the country there. So I'm not just judging them on their performance against A&M. They really kind of got pushed around against BYU a little bit. So I think they can be had at the line of scrimmage. I do not think they have the weapons to exploit us over the top. And Nick, if I'm you, and I'm worried that Ole Miss goes up 20-6 and never looks back because I just don't think Arkansas is equipped to keep pace in an up-tempo game in a shootout like they were, a couple years back and hell even last year. I just don't think this is that team. So if I'm back in Arkansas, I just worry that Ole Miss runs away with it early and kind of never looks back. But again, look, I'll take a 1-point win. So it's hard here for me to predict anything. I can see us being a little sluggish just off the heels of an incredible performance like last week, but I don't think their defense can keep us lower than like 37, 38. So Nick, you're needing Arkansas to get into the 30s here. I'm not sure that I see that. I think it's maybe like 38-24 Rebs.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just looking at the numbers. I get it. The history. I don't disagree with Nick in that it being crazy, at least a few of the games. But this Arkansas team is bad. They're dead last in the conference in offense. They're dead last in the conference in sacks allowed. I mean, they barely run for 100 yards a game. They barely throw for over 200 yards a game. I get it. They played Texas A&M, but their other opponents are like, and I'm going based off memory, Kent State. I think they beat them, what 28-6? They played something like Central Illinois or something week 1, and that was a good win. But point being is, yes, they did play LSU, but we saw how bad that LSU defense was, and they have played A&M, who has a good defense. But this team lost at home to BYU, a bad BYU team. This isn't a good this isn't Steve Young's BYU team. So, like, I'm not seeing this at all. Like, I think Ole Miss rolls. Like, and couple that with the fact that Arkansas's 3-game losing streak. This isn't like a wound back against the wall. I mean, this is a wounded animal. They are done. I think Ole Miss wins truly. I think this game's like 48-24, 21.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even that close. And I don't think that this is necessarily the talent differential doing that. I think this is more of just the nature of what the seasons have gone, how they've gone for both teams. Rocket Sanders hadn't been 100%. Arkansas takes it off the chin against BYU, drops another heartbreaker to LSU, and now gets whipped by A&M. That's just kind of where they are. Ole Miss is riding high off LSU, and it's a night game in Oxford. This is the perfect storm of Ole Miss absolutely stomping Arkansas. So I think, and it's a good matchup. So I think Ole Miss rolls. I would like Ole Miss in, but we'll allow Nick to go forward. I'd rather pick some other games anyway.
Something else just about the number here that I thought was noteworthy. Do y'all know where this opened in terms of the total?
Like, I don't know the total.
68 or something.
68.5.
Yeah,
it got blasted down to 61.5. I mean, y'all know how much money it takes to move a touchdown from open? That's nuts. I tend to agree. I think the under 68 would have been a banger, but
it would have been, yeah.
But all the way down to 61.5, there are some strong opinions in the market on the total.
And so Arkansas is 117th in sacks allowed. There are 2 SEC programs worse. One of them would be a little obvious after week 1, South Carolina. They're 127th in sacks allowed. The other team, you would never guess it.
Georgia.
Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Their O-line is, on paper, is talented as hell, but they just cannot get it together. I don't know what it is.
Man.
Starting a true freshman at left tackle is not always the best recipe if your name is not Laramie Tunsil.
If only we could have added to that sack total, which I think we got the Milrow a couple times, but not nearly enough.
Man, yeah.
The problem with like KJ, he's big and athletic. I get all that, and I like him as a player. Frankly, would have liked him playing for Ole Miss, even though I like Dart more. He's not as elusive as the previous 2 quarterbacks we played. We are used to seeing mobile quarterbacks. Milrow's more athletic, and Jane Daniels is more athletic.
Yeah.
Suntaryn Perkins is going to be running KJ down. Like there's not going to be I'm going to go get 9 yards here from KJ. That we've got an answer for that this year.
No, he's like a rich man's Chris Ralph. Like he's not going to run away from you. Now he may plow you a couple times, but like he's not going to run away from anybody.
Plus, the offensive line is just not great.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
He's going to be running for his life from the jump. Like, he's not going to have a clean pocket. I don't imagine him having one.
It's weird to see a bad Arkansas offensive line.
Yeah, as much as people have groveled about the Ole Miss defense and the bend but don't break, they've been good about getting after the quarterback. I think they're 3rd in the SEC in sacks right now. They create a ton of pressure. They just don't finish a lot of the time. But like Ben said, they're going to probably spy KJ, and they're going to have a plan there. But I also just it's one thing to be able to sit back and run around when you've got wide receivers that can get open like LSU did, where they've got Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, NFL guys.
Arkansas doesn't have that. Like, they don't have anybody. So, yeah, if you're Ole Miss, it doesn't matter. Just get the win. It can be the ugliest win of all time. Just get the win, get to the bye week, get healthy, and get ready for the Super Bowl on the Plains in a couple weeks. Are you looking at cutting your health insurance premiums by as much as 20 to 30%? Are you aging into Medicare and need help finding a Medicare supplement plan? Call Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group at 601-953-8449. Drew is an Ole Miss grad located in Mississippi and licensed in 7 states. He works with the nation's 2nd largest health insurance brokerage with access to 35 different carriers, and he can help you with any of your health insurance needs. From regular health plans to life insurance to dental and vision and even Medicare, he has it all covered. Now more than ever, it is critical to have a health insurance agent who is local and accessible. So call Drew Moak at 601-953-8449 and get your free quote today. Cooler temperatures are right around the corner, and as I like to say, it's the perfect time to play a round of golf. And if you're looking for a premier golf course in Northwest Mississippi or the Memphis, Tennessee area, go to Cherokee Valley Golf Club in Olive Branch, 15 minutes from the Memphis International Airport. With those cooler temps, you might want to stay warm and comfortable on the course this fall. Go in the clubhouse and check out their new selection of outerwear from Travis Matthew and FootJoy, including FootJoy's new lightweight hoodie. This 18-hole par 72 course includes 4 sets of tees to accommodate all players and has 11 lakes, 52 bunkers, and the wide Zoysia fairways and extra-large Champion Bermuda greens and clean roughs make for an excellent opportunity every single time to post a number. If you need a premier golf experience in the Mid-South, go to Cherokee Valley Golf Club. Call them at 662-893-4444 or check them out, olivebranchgolf.com.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
By the way, y'all know the offensive coordinator was the offensive coordinator back in 2016 or 2015, the 4th and 25 game.
15.
Same
Dan
OC, by the
Enos.
way. Yeah. So we owe him an ass whipping. But
I don't know.
We're going to.
I don't know if he
Just
was
give me the dub.
responding to student emails back then.
no.
Y'all are being cautious with your analysis. This is a good matchup. Rebs roll. And I would agree with the look ahead spot, except for the fact that Alabama beat us. And I know we got the big win against LSU, but we have no room for error now. I'm thinking that the team sees that. We'll see.
Yeah, it seemed that a lot of the quotes this week out of practice and players it seemed they were very pointed with things they were saying. And the coaching staff, I'd imagine, is really banging that drum this week of, hey, we got to keep pace with Bama and A&M. We got to.
And they wrecked us last year.
handle business.
Arkansas beat us worse than anybody last year.
Yeah.
So,
No, that was a buzzsaw.
yeah.
All right. Let's get into the SEC slate, 11 a.m. ESPN. Be tuning into this one in the Grove somewhere. It'll either be the Grove or over at Circle and Square Brewery. Gonna go check that place out while I'm in town.
Yeah, it's cool.
Number 23, LSU traveling to Columbia, Missouri to take on the 5-0 Missouri Tigers. I literally laughed out loud. I audibly cackled when I saw that someone said that Brady Cook is having a better year than Jackson Dart right now, but whatever. This is Missouri's first true test. I know they beat K-State on a 61-yard field goal, but I don't know if this is your granddad's K-State this year. They're a little down, but this is Missouri's first true test at home. I don't know about y'all, but we got to come up with a term or like a label for this. I feel like those 11 a.m. kicks for home teams suck and can sometimes favor the away team, where if this was a night game, I feel like I would be much more inclined to take Missouri or maybe even for an outright win. I kind of like LSU to bounce back here in a big way. I don't know if it'll be a blowout, but they're only given 4. I kind of like LSU to handle business on the road. We've given Jaden Daniels his flowers plenty.
Yeah,
I think he lights them up. Brady Cook, all jokes aside, has been pretty good this year. 11 touchdowns, no picks. I think he's done for 1,500 yards. I think I could get out there and throw it to Luther Burden, and he'd make me look good. But yeah, I like LSU here.
So that line started at 8, if I recall. And also, yeah, I understand it's a, early kick in Columbia, but don't, knock Mizzou. They had an early kick against K-State, had a pretty good atmosphere, and then, won that game late. So I think it's almost like Mizzou's built for that early game. And you talk about sleepy. Yeah, of course it's going to be sleepy for the home team. Their fans, take a little while to get going. But LSU's basically lost any hope for a national title. I mean, barring something super unforeseen with that loss last week. Yeah, they've still got, the goal of beating Alabama later in the year. But I mean, this game for them, means very little other than just like going out and beating the team in front of you. And I could see a team that's totally hung over from losing a tough game last week. The defense, I'm just not sure how much better it can get. I think Missouri's going to play with them at 4.5. It's way too close for me to touch it, but at 8, I think I ought to take a Missouri pretty easily.
So you're skeptical that the 84-year-old defensive line coach they brought in is going to improve them from week to week this week?
Yeah, it may take 2 weeks for that guy to really get cooking.
He's going to really connect with Harold Perkins on a,
you talk about a desperation move, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, they brought him in, and then next year he can run for president. But
yeah.
So I don't know. Y'all tell me why this is not just LSU Ole Miss all over again.
Like,
yeah, kind of.
I don't know if Missouri has enough playmakers to make it that, but maybe Luther Burden has 19 catches.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say.
He could do
Burden,
that.
But yeah, Burden might be the best receiver in the game, and that's that's saying something given that Neighbors and Thomas are on the other side. Yeah, so LSU's 4th in total offense nationally. Jane Daniels is 2nd in individual total offense. Brian Thomas is 1st in receiving touchdowns. Malik Neighbors is 2nd in receiving yards. And LSU's defense is 117th in total defense. I mean, I think that tells the story of their season and will likely tell the story of this game. I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. I mean, whoever doesn't turn the ball over and I don't know. I can't imagine that either team stops the other really. So I think you're talking about a coin toss. In a coin toss situation, I'm always inclined to take the points because I really do think it's just a 50-50 predict. I don't know. I don't know that LSU can change from our game to the end of the season, but I'm almost certain they can't turn it around in 1 week. I mean, maybe some young guys emerge late in the year, but after 7 days later, are they going to be completely different on the back end? I don't think so. And I think Mizzou has weapons that can exploit them. I really wanted to hit the over here. I missed all the good numbers. It opened at 59.5 and now it's sitting at 64.5. I think it probably still goes over that, but I really don't have a strong opinion about who wins because I think it will just come down to the team that plays the cleanest game here. And I know that's like a no shit. That's the truth in most games. But do y'all see a decided advantage anywhere on the field for either team?
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Daniels is much better than Cook for sure. But I mean, I know it's like Cook's easy to like, dunk on, but like 0 turnovers this year, 0 interceptions.
Yeah.
Played a really clean game against K-State, whose defense is undoubtedly better than LSU's. So they don't ask him to do a ton. They just, throw the ball to Burden and let him cook.
I worry a little bit about like Missouri from when they beat Kansas State. It was like this is kind of an upset. Like Kansas State was. I mean, we picked them. They were going to roll that week. That was a team that they shouldn't have beat. They're playing the underdog.
Yeah.
Obviously, by Vegas standards, they're still the underdog, but the target's a little bit more on their back this week. They're 5-0. Teams have been talking a little bit about, hey, that Missouri-Georgia game later in the year, that could be a big game. And so I think like now it's Missouri's almost the hunted. And I worry about, a team that hasn't been used to that, hadn't done that in a few years, coming out and just like getting kicked in the teeth.
Yeah, you're I take your point there, and I agree completely. But I will say, they may be the hunted, but they're still an underdog in this game at home against a team that just gave up 700 yards of offense. So, I mean, they are the undefeated team, and it is odd that they were dogged by 6.5 at open. I think there's been complete one-way traffic on that number too. By the way, the market seems to really like Mizzou here. Here's the other thing, and this is difficult to quantify. Do y'all trust Brian Kelly to rally a locker room? Like,
true,
to put the train back on the track? I do not. Like, I think there's some guys who are already starting to talk portal or the NFL or, draft, talking to their agents. They're
trust
out of
Jaden Daniels to throw for 400 yards.
Yeah. So I just don't, of like all the coaches in the SEC, Brian Kelly is way down my list on guys that are going to motivate the locker room to finish strong when all of their expectations now have been dashed. I don't see him being able to put the pieces back together. Having said that, they are just more, look, they have more talent than Mizzou. We know that. Burden might be the equalizer. I don't know. Home field advantage at 11 a.m., as Zach said, and it's probably negligible at Mizzou. But I don't know. I couldn't lay any points with LSU at this point, but I also don't have much confidence in Mizzou, so it's a stay away. But I don't know. Hope for a shootout.
My turn. I'm gonna lock in the LSU Tigers minus 3.5.
Okay. I like it.
I'm just being contrarian tonight. No, here's the deal. Missouri, this is the same Missouri team that beat Middle Tennessee by 4 points and beat Memphis by 7. This is not LSU is going to do to Missouri like they did to Mississippi State. Missouri has got one great player, and y'all have talked about him a lot, and he is a spectacular player. But he'll be the best player on the field, not named Jay Daniels. But this will be – here's the thing about LSU. I can make the argument. Now, it's a bad one, but I could make the argument that if LSU were to win out, okay, and Ole Miss lost one game, LSU makes the SEC championship and beats Georgia, okay? I'm just talking about hypotheticals here. They are, 11 or 12-2 at that point, where they lost to number 1 Florida State and a good Ole Miss team. That LSU team can make the playoffs. They've won the national championship as a 2-loss team in the last 15 years before the playoff. And so you could still spin that in the locker room. I think that they are so much more superior. I mean, so much more talented than Missouri that this line's not going to matter. And plus, if it's shifted 3.5 or 4 points since open, give me that's just giving me more, confidence here. I'm going to take LSU minus 3.5 on the road. I know it's early morning. I think that favors the away team. I know that, I don't think Missouri has that much of a home field atmosphere anyway, even with LSU coming to town. I think that this is a solid win for LSU. And I mean, it's going to be a statement win following, what happened last week. I don't know that there's anything they're going to be able to do to, quote, fix the defense. And it's kind of crazy that they gave up over 700 yards. And they also have a player like Harold Perkins. I mean, and they also have a player like Mason Smith. But at the end of the day, they're just too good on offense. I don't think Missouri's going to be able to keep up at all. I mean, Ole Miss played perfectly the other night, and Ole Miss has a lot more talent than Missouri. And that's what it took. And it took, came down to the absolute very end. And so I just don't know that you can. I mean, I think Jane, that is who he is. He played that way against Arkansas. He played that way against Mississippi State. He played that way against Ole Miss. He's going to play that way against Missouri. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. I'm laying the points. I respect all of y'all's opinions, and y'all are probably right. I don't think that LSU is going to play a game 2 or 3 weeks in a row now within 4 points. I'm just not seeing it happen. I think they win something like 48-31, and it's an easy cover and over the number.
2:30 CBS. If you're in Oxford, you're in the Grove or the Circle, or you're on the Square, you got to find a TV for this one because you need to be locked in. And you need to be pulling for the Aggies. CBS, number 11, Alabama at Texas A&M. I don't know how Texas A&M isn't ranked at this point. Am I insane? I'm not going to do any analysis here because I think y'all are going to cover it, and we've already kind of mentioned it a little bit. Am I insane to just expect an outright win for the Aggies here?
I think most people are. But
yeah, I think they went outright for sure.
Yeah.
The defensive line is we were talking about this earlier in the week. I don't know why people are shocked. The Aggies have signed 19 5-stars over the last couple of years on the defensive line. So go figure, they're all figuring it out. They're not all going to bust. The offense is still fine with Max Johnson. He's experienced. He's serviceable. He's still a little bit mobile. He can make all the throws. And Le'Veon Moss has been really good in the backfield, but I think this just comes down to the trenches and the aforementioned offensive line of Alabama that has really struggled to protect Jalen Milroe. And I know they made mincemeat of Mississippi State last week, but this is going to be a different monster. It's in College Station. Kyle Field will be an absolute zoo. I don't know. I still don't think I think this Alabama team is just good. I don't think they're elite by any stretch, and I think A&M is going to get them here. I like what Jimbo has stayed away, and he's let Petrino have the sticks, and he's let him control the offense. I think this is a big, big spot for A&M, who is quietly 2-0 in the SEC. So they win this one, and if Ole Miss can handle business in the coming weeks, it'll set up for a just monumental November 4th game in Oxford.
I 100% agree with you, Zach. I think that the Aggies win. I'm not going to lock it in because I don't know that I've ever locked in anybody as a favorite against to win outright against Alabama. I'm not positive. Maybe Ole Miss, but either way, that's just because I'm a fan. I like.
I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure you did in 15.
I probably did. I like Max Johnson. I think he's a good, accurate passer that you need to have to beat Alabama. Texas A&M, I think this is an important point that we just talked about. Alabama is almost dead last in the country in sacks allowed, and A&M up front is nasty. And so that's a bad that matchup favors A&M, and you win and lose games in the trenches. So give me Texas A&M. I think it's close, but I think they win.
Completely agree. I think A&M wins outright here. I think Jimbo has shown over the years he's not intimidated by Saban. He's just not. Now it's easy to not be intimidated by Saban when you've got a roster as talented as his roster is. But I expect A&M to be like this home field. What's this worth, y'all? 4.5 in this environment. I mean, this is going to be crazy. And I think Max Johnson, while limited physically, and he's not the most talented quarterback in the league, obviously. But if I'm an A&M fan, I do like the fact that he's at least a veteran. Like he's been in these wars before. He's played in these games. In fact, hasn't he actually played against Bama before? I think he has at LSU, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like he's seen the elephant. Like he's not going to, the moment's not going to be too big for him. Again, he's got physical limitations. He's not going to suddenly turn into an elite quarterback. But A&M's wide receivers and their offensive coordinator make Johnson look better than he is. They've got elite talent at the skill positions, and Petrino has been allowed to run his offense in the way that he prefers. And so I just think for the first time in a long time, I just think Bama is sort of outgunned at a lot of positions in this game. Maybe for the first time in, I don't know, since they faced Georgia, their defensive front is not going to be the best one in this game. A&M's got some horses in the front seven. Now, A&M can be had on the back end, but I don't think Bama's got the personnel to exploit that matchup. Milroe, he throws a decent home run ball, but it's a lot of just like chunk and duck. He just throws the ball and lets Bama's receivers go get it. They are not elite this year. They may be a little better than A&M secondary, but I don't think you're going to hit that at a high enough percentage for Bama to win the game. And speaking of lines crashing, this opened Bama like 3.5, 4. We're all the way down to Bama 1.5 at this point, and now there are rumors that Milroe tweaked a hammy in practice this week. If Milroe is limited in the run game, Bama may get run out of the building. If he can't run, he's useless at quarterback.
Yeah. So if he's not fully healthy, then I think Texas A&M wins. But
I'm gonna be hammering the old.
I do want to say this in terms of who do y'all think has a better offense, Ole Miss or Texas A&M?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
And we saw what they did, granted, in Tuscaloosa. And perhaps, Alabama was, playing the game of their lives defensively. I just think Alabama's defense is strong enough.
Hold on a second, though. Hold on. That Ole Miss offense, though, didn't have the full complement of the guys they've got now. I mean,
sure. Even then, I'm not sure it's like it's like significantly worse. It's definitely not significantly worse than the Texas A&M offense because the quarterback's so much better. I mean, I think that's Dart is a lot better, in my opinion, than Max Johnson. I think that this is another prematurely, saying the Bama dynasty's done. I just saw what Texas A&M did down in Coral Gables, and I mean, pretty much got ran off the field there. A different offense, obviously, from Miami than you're going to see from Alabama. I just don't think Texas A&M is going to be able to put up enough points. And not that the Alabama offense is great, but I just Alabama defense is very good. I think that they're going to kind of show that again on Saturday, and Texas A&M is going to have to prove it to me. Their offense has not been. I mean, they put up some points on Louisiana Monroe. They kind of sat on it against Auburn and looked. I mean, they looked pretty bad against Auburn. Would y'all not agree? I mean,
I think it's a low scoring game.
It was 27-10, but it was like at halftime, it was like, what was it, like 10-3 or 13-3 against an Auburn team that I don't think has much talent at all. And then they played okay last week against Arkansas. I just haven't seen, other than the fact that the Texas A&M defensive front is very good, I've not seen anything yet that says like, oh, A&M's ready to take the next step of beating like an obviously good team like Alabama.
I mean, I don't. I'm a little taken aback. I don't
know. At me?
No, well, not necessarily. I just I think the argument is not that the Bama dynasty's over. I think everybody recognizes they're a top 5 team. The problem that Alabama has is their offense is objectively not good. We saw what LSU just did to Ole Miss. Alabama scored 24 points at home and had the ball for like 50 minutes.
And some of that felt like luck boxing into 24 points.
Do what?
I said, and some of that felt like luck boxing into 24 points on their side.
It did. I mean, they're objectively not good on. I mean, I say not good. They are a serviceable offense. But if Milroe has a tweaked hammy and they have to play another quarterback, I think it's a realistic chance that this game, either way, even if he's healthy, is like 13-10 final.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, so I don't know that. I agree with Austin that there is the chance that Alabama gets run out of the building. That's if they're without Milroe. But if they have him, I could see a scenario where there are like 12 punts in this game.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like that's what Nick Saban will absolutely want to do. He will be content to be in a rock fight here. The difference in years past though is I don't know that Petrino is going to oblige. Jimbo in years past would have. Jimbo would have gotten in the rock fight with Saban. I think Petrino is going to continue to try to push pace and open it up, even with Max Johnson at quarterback. I just think he's going to try. Now, Nick, to your point here, Johnson throws a couple picks or has a fumble, and suddenly Bama's up, 17-6, and it's a whole different thing. Then the boa constrictor, approach is on for Saban. But I think this A&M defense is a completely different animal than the Ole Miss front that Bama saw a couple of weeks back. And it may be the best front that Bama's going to face this year, in fact. So,
man, boa constrictor is such a good analogy for that because, dude, 17-6 when you're playing against Alabama feels like 100 points.
Oh, it's over. The game's over at that point. I mean, Saban can do whatever he wants on defense, and they can run the ball enough and punt to just salt it away. So I don't know. It's really interesting. Again, y'all know I love to focus on line movement, and sometimes I think that really does tell the story. Here, one-way traffic on A&M. Now, sometimes the markets are wrong, but either somebody knows something about that Milroe injury, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else accounts for that sudden move over the last 24, 48 hours, other than he might be a little gimpy.
Keep in mind, this Alabama defense has allowed just 30 total points since it's lost to Texas.
Yeah.
So.
But again, okay, look, Nick brought our offense up. If we played Bama this week, how many points does our offense put up?
Yeah.
More than 10?
I was going to say probably at least
21,
like 24.
27 to 31.
I think we get into the 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It happens there.
Speaking of getting into the 20s, Can the Kentucky Wildcats get into that territory against Georgia on the road? ESPN 6:00. Kentucky's undefeated. I don't buy it. Maybe I was a week early, a little premature on Georgia having the circle the wagons game where they put it all together and absolutely just sit on somebody and put them to sleep. This might be that game. If it was at K. Roger Field, I'd probably give a little more credence to Kentucky. The number's 14.5. I don't even know if I'm saying lay the points here. I just don't see this one being close at all. I think Georgia just controls this game, and just boa constrictor. And it seems like if they get into trouble, they just hit the Brock Bowers button and figure it out.
Yeah. That's their easy button. Yeah.
Yeah. Both things can be true here. I think Georgia wins.
It is.
Might be right now.
It's a pretty big ass button though.
It is. Georgia can be good enough to win and win handedly, but I think Kentucky's still pretty good. Man, if Devin Leary was just a little bit better, I would say Kentucky could maybe cover.
Is he hurt?
He's just not been good.
Yeah, 9 of 20 last week. I just want to mention this, by the way, for Florida last week against Kentucky. Graham Mertz was 25 of 30 for 244, 2 touchdowns and interception, and they lost 33-14. That's crazy. I don't know if it's like a Kentucky scheme or if they just ride the brakes off of one running back a year. But Ray Davis, 26 carries for 280 yards. It's like that every single week for this guy. I mean, he's just getting tons of carries. I don't think it's going to matter against Georgia, but they are just hammering this guy, calling his number all the time. Not quite the Brock Bowers button, but they're pressing it a lot. What did you say the line was? 14.5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be like an enjoyable game. I will say this for Kentucky. Now it's now or never. They get a 3-week stretch of at Georgia, home against Missouri, and home against Tennessee. Like, this is their season in these next three games. I guess they have a bye, sprinkled in there, but this is the season. You need, if you want to have like a great year, you probably need to win 2 of those.
I can't call it here. I guess I'll lay the points. I'm not going to lock it in. I will say the game kicks off at 6 Central. Do y'all think it's over with by 9? I mean, Mark Stoops just takes the air out of the ball, man. I can remember playing Kentucky last year, Ole Miss, and thinking, dude, we're not going to get the ball back. They'd get the ball 15 minutes to go in a quarter. They'd start the quarter, and Ole Miss doesn't get the ball until like 6:45, and Kentucky barely makes it to the 50. It's like they just run the clock out.
It's a byproduct of Leary being mediocre, but Tavian Robinson and Barian Brown have just not gotten going at all this year.
They haven't. They haven't. Like I said, I'd lay the points. I thought about locking it in, but what scares me is just time of possession and Kentucky shortening the game. And I think Georgia would be just fine winning this game like 21-10.
And for that reason, I'm locking in under 47.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good play.
This is going to be a big team game, exactly like Ben said. Both coaches, I think, are going to be content to take the air out of the ball. I do think Georgia's weird, man. People keep talking about them sleepwalking, and I think it may just be a fact that this is just there's not who they used to be. Like, I'm not sure they're sleepwalking anymore. If Kirby couldn't put it on Hugh Freeze last week, I don't know that he can put it on anybody. I think Kentucky's defense is comparable to Auburn's, and I know Georgia was on the road last week, and this game's at home for Georgia, but I don't think Kentucky is going to get – I don't think they're going to let Beck or Georgia's offense roll over them. Now, they're not going to be able to stop Brock Bauer, but nobody can. I just think it's low scoring. It's going to be a punt fest. Georgia gave up some funky runs last week to Auburn and Freeze, but Freeze can scheme up some stuff like that. They caught him off guard with some Peyton Thorne RPO stuff, but after a couple of big gainers, Georgia kind of just shut down the run game from Auburn. So I I think they can probably contain Kentucky's run game here too. But, Kentucky can probably dink and dunk their way down the field with a veteran quarterback and really talented wide receivers. It's a shame that Leary can't get them the ball because they've got one of the best receiving groups in the SEC. I think he's hurt, man. I think his shoulder's banged up. He got hurt, I think, in the spring, maybe in the summer, and it was his throwing shoulder. Seems like that's still affecting him. So I don't think Kentucky can get downfield on Georgia. I just expect a slow pace game where both coaches are content to run the ball, and Georgia will win, 17-6 or something, really ugly game. But, Kirby's content to do that. And this year, even if he wasn't content to do it, I just don't think they have the pieces to go downfield. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the offensive coordinator. So, slow paced game. Give me under 47.
This podcast also comes to you thanks to Bluff City Advisory Group, Memphis's leading team of finance professionals who can provide advanced assistance with financial planning, pension, and qualified plan support, and business and estate planning strategies as well. Former Ole Miss Rebel and founding partner Ben Still, along with his elite-level customer service team, make it their goal to help you meet the ongoing demands of your financial needs. Learn about this and more at bluffcityadvisory.com.
By the way, I just want to point out, this is kind of like a scheduling quirk that I really haven't seen very often. Georgia plays at home, obviously, on Saturday against Kentucky. It's their only home game of the month of October. And after Saturday, they only have 2 more home games total. That's just, in their back-to-back weeks. They have Missouri and Ole Miss in back-to-back weeks. And, they've got the Florida game there, and then they end at Georgia Tech. But it's just a very odd schedule. They started off with 4 home games to start the year, and then this game. So it's kind of weird. I will say, though, it makes me feel like if Georgia's ever going to bust out offensively, maybe this is the week, like to do it kind of in front of your fans here before this long road stretch. But yeah, you talk about like, man, maybe they're sleepwalking. This is just kind of who Georgia is.
Yeah,
it's almost like we're back in like 2012 SEC because Bama's doing their thing again that they used to do. Georgia's kind of doing the thing of, not playing super offensive football. And, the 2 biggest SEC games of the week this week might just be sleepwalks.
I agree.
All right.
The thing that worries me a bit with my total, just to say, turnovers worry me a little bit on both sides. I think, both of these defenses might be able to turn these quarterbacks over. So hopefully we don't get any short fields or pick sixes or anything like that, which will absolutely doom a college 47. So I think we avoid turnovers. We'll be good there.
All right. Before we get into our locks, I do want to remind you this podcast is also brought to you by the College Corner in Oxford, Mississippi, 825 Sisk Avenue. Go see them before you head to the Grove. Get you a game day polo. It's going to be a little chilly. Maybe you want to get a quarter zip. Maybe you want to find you a sweatshirt. All of that and more at College Corner. You can also go on their website right now and pre-order the Ole Miss Realtree hoodies. Just go to collegecornerstore.com, put in the search bar Realtree, and you can pre-order your hoodies today. That's 825 Sisk Avenue, Suite 105 in Oxford. Go check them out. Game day polos, get the kids something, tailgating supplies, gifts, all of that and more at College Corner. All right. Locks. As we turn the page, everybody but me has a lock on the docket. I am going to go ahead and head to, let me double check to make sure I have the opponent correct here. Ooh, man, I hate doing this. But they're coming off a bye, and I think that they're probably pretty solid. And it's at home. I'm going to go ahead and lock in North Carolina. Let me double check and see what I can get here. Oh, darn. It is at 9.5 across the board. We'll let it ride. Go with my gut. 9.5. hosting Syracuse. I think this might be one of those where Clemson beat Syracuse twice. They put a lot into that game up at the Dome. They got whipped. It was cute for a little bit. I just think North Carolina's going to be too much. Drake May and company. I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards, and Dino and the Orange are going to be left licking their wounds once again for another week. So, yeah, I like the Tar Heels here.
I like this one too. Syracuse is down like their entire receiving core. They've been so banged up at that position, and I think they lost another starter against Clemson. I don't see how they keep pace against UNC. And by the way, UNC is getting Tez Walker back, right?
That is correct. Good for him.
Yeah. So I don't
Their
see
number
how
one
Syracuse keeps
receiver
up.
is back. All right. Do I need to fire another one off, or what do y'all want to go?
I got one.
I got one too.
All right, good.
You wanna
Because
go,
I'm
Ben?
just rethinking what I was going to pick.
Yeah. I'm seeing I need some help with y'all. What total can you get me with Purdue at Iowa?
Jesus Christ. Goddamn sicko.
I'm going back to the well, boys. Hey,
38
wrap it
and a
up.
half. I can get you 39 and a half, 38, 38 and a half.
I was seeing 41. I can't get 41, I don't guess. That's fine.
No.
We're going to go under 39 and a half.
Okay. Iowa and who?
Purdue.
Okay.
Purdue's got a first-year head coach. Hey, here's an interesting fact. Who would y'all think leads this all-time matchup? They played 70 or 80 times.
I mean, Iowa's had a better program, it seems like forever, but I assume there's a reason you ask.
Yeah, it's Purdue. Yeah, they've beaten Iowa 10 more times than Iowa's beat Purdue. I would have never thought that ever. I know.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is where I guess we're talking about Drew Brees' Purdue.
Yeah.
Look, Iowa's Cade McNamara's out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
I just don't know
for the year. That's right. And so Iowa, I was reading about this game earlier today, and whoever wrote the article said Iowa is going to have to call their offense more conservative than usual. And so it's like, what are they going to do? Kneel 3 times?
Like?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm thinking this game's like 16-10, final.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going under.
Yeah, I like that. And Iowa's defense is still really good, so I don't know how Purdue scores either, honestly. I mean, it's
Phil Parker, baby.
Yeah. They just do what they do every year. All right, I've been hard on them this year. I've got their season win total under 6.5. I think their head coach is a dead man walking, but this week, if this is not a get-right game, that they don't have one on the schedule. Mississippi State is laying only 20.5 to Western Michigan. Western Michigan is a bad team, even by MAC standards. There will be 40,000 people in the stands, but I think State can name their number here, and I think they're incentivized to name their number because Arnett needs some sort of positive momentum. So let me lay the 20.5 with Mississippi State, and even if they don't cover, we get to laugh at them for not covering. So it's a win-win either way.
They're covering this line.
State minus 20.5.
I'm not sure there's going to be 40,000 like sets of feet.
Like I was going to say that sounded like 40,000 toes, maybe. But
yeah, man, 40,000 because they didn't have many more than that last week. There was a ton of empty seats there.
Yeah.
Your season's kind of toast. You're playing a Central Michigan in the middle of SEC play. I'm sure there's a hunting season that just opened somewhere. There's going to be nobody there. I love it. But yeah, if they're going to do it, then now's the time, right?
This is like 52-3 written all over it, Austin.
Yeah. You got to think, too, they're going to get the backup. Was it Mike Wright? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
He's probably going to get some reps because State fans have been clamoring for him to get reps.
He'll rush for 250. And they'll be wanting
the same people who told us in the preseason that Will Rogers was a legit Heisman candidate are now demanding that Mike Wright play and get snaps. So
Rogers sucks, dude. Per them.
So he'll get snaps, and they'll continue to run offense late in this game because they have to. So I'm with you, but I think State gets into the high 40s, maybe in the 50s here, and Western Michigan they're abysmal. So hopefully it's a layup.
I think isn't that where PJ Fleck was before Western Michigan?
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Nick, what do we
Nick,
have? How many
what you
locks does
got?
everybody have?
We have
I've got two.
2 for Austin,
have-
2 for Ben. Me and Nick have 1 apiece.
Yeah, Zach, go ahead if you got one. I'm still looking for my number 2.
I'm
Talk about just winging it.
Stewing over a couple here.
Well, I had a game. Honestly, I really considered FSU minus 24 against Virginia Tech because I think Virginia Tech's kind of buns. But I don't know that FSU like they can't really put teams away. I mean, that BC game, scared me obviously, and I was thinking like, it's off the backs of the Clemson game. Maybe they'll come out a little sloppy. But then I saw the bye week there. Then again, I look back at that BC game, so I'm still, it is what it is. You know what? Whatever. Let's go ahead. Is there an injury in the Kansas football team that I'm unaware of, Austin?
Yeah. Their quarterback is probably not going to go.
Okay, then nope. Zach, your turn.
Speaking of bad beats, that one last week, I had Kansas, Texas over, and he scratches in pregame warmups. You got to be shitting me.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
I'll play one. I got one.
I got one.
Go ahead.
I've been fighting it. I'm gonna go to Laramie, and I'm gonna take the Cowboys to cover 6.5.
Oh, I thought about it.
Altitude, and I love Jeff Tefford and Fresno State. They're so fun. They're undefeated, but highest altitude in college football. That's where dreams go to die. They beat Texas Tech earlier this year. I was big on the Red Raiders. I'm going to go the Cowboys here. I think that they can – I don't know if they'll win outright, but I think that they can make this one muddy and really challenge Tedford and the Bulldogs. So I'm going to take the 6.5.
It's actually going to be a pretty good game, I think.
Oh, yeah. Because Wyoming's not bad, and Fresno's really good.
Yeah, Fresno is very good.
And that place is just a house of horrors for people.
What time's that kick?
7:00.
I mean, come on. Like, the football gods have just got to, give us a good late night kick. That's a perfect – of course, I guess it is mountain time. But
it is.
Yeah, start that one at 8 o'clock local, something like that.
I have nothing to add to the handicapping here except to say I think at noon on Saturday it's going to be 65 in Laramie, and then by the time the game kicks, I think it's going to be 45.
The most Laramie weather I've ever had.
Would love that. Oh my gosh.
That's the most, what is it, front range, whatever it is out there. Denver will have that. It'll be like 82 degrees, and the next day it snows.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that. All right, so the Mountain West Matt guy is going to go back to the well. Not exactly. I'm going to take Notre Dame. Okay, the Fighting Irish, the most storied program amongst them in all college football. They're going to Louisville, who I think is secretly not very good. They're 5-0, and they've just got some games that they just kind of lucked out.
You don't believe in Jack Plummer, Nick?
Do what?
Said you don't believe in Jack Plummer?
Yeah, well, not yet. I mean, they snuck by NC State. They put it on BC. Congrats. Didn't really do much against Indiana. Also, congrats. Didn't really do much against Georgia Tech. Again, congrats. And this Notre Dame team is still very, very good. And I don't know if it's
undefeated.
Yeah, and also, I mean, of course, I guess could have 2 losses too because the game last week against Duke. But Duke's a good football team, and I think there's a big step down in the quality of opponent this week for Notre Dame. I think they're going to put it on them woodshedding, 20 points.
All right, what's that?
Good pick. Good pick.
Line.
I think it's 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 is what I'm seeing.
I can get 6.
6. Actually, you can get 5.5.
Nah, man. Yeah, for what? 125 minus 125.
That's
115.
Yeah, just give me 6. Not gonna matter.
All right. So I've got my third. We're going to go to Coral Gables, and I'm going to lay 19.5 with the Miami Hurricanes over the rambling wreck from Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Does anybody know what Georgia Tech did last week?
Yes.
They took an
Without
L. I know
looking.
that.
Embarrassing. Yeah.
Who
Okay.
was it?
Bowling Green.
That's right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Tough scene.
Georgia Tech went up 14-0. Then Bowling Green answered with 38 unanswered points to go up 38-14.
That's so many.
Before Georgia Tech got 2 late garbage time touchdowns to make it 38-27. They had 69 rushing yards, 3 turnovers, a pick 6 from Haynes King, who's actually pretty good. By the way, that's not me hating on him. He threw for 350 and 4 touchdowns, but did have 2 picks. Miami, does anybody know what they did last week?
Were they off last week?
They were off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lay 19.5 with the Hurricanes. Look, this is still a team that beat A&M, who we think could beat Alabama. And so I like Miami here at home. I think Georgia Tech, maybe they, try to play hard, quote unquote, to get better, get right. But this is a bad team to do that against. And a loss like that to Bowling Green, that affects you mentally, man. Like that, that's hard to come back from. And so, think Ole Miss against Louisiana Tech, 30-7 type stuff. And so give me the Hurricanes, Tyler Van Dyke. Let's do it.
Miami's kind of good, man.
They are good. They're good, and they're getting good at the time where you need to be good with all this conference realignment stuff.
Yeah. I think they're one team that's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle this season. Like even some of the Pac-12 teams are getting love, like Washington, and deservedly so. Like Washington's really good, but people talk about like Wazoo and Oregon State more than they're talking about Miami this year. It's kind of wild. All right, back to me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go TCU Iowa State over. Can I get 52 flat?
Efforting.
I just, while he's looking up the number, I just want to say this is the most degen pick because it's such a nondescript game. Like, yeah, anyone can bet on Notre Dame and anyone can bet on like San Jose State, but to bet on TCU Iowa State, a game that I assure you nobody in here plans on watching, other than that's true degen.
So here's why, though. I think there's an edge because the market has not caught up to the fact that Iowa State is playing a young guy at quarterback now. They're playing a freshman or redshirt freshman, and they're going up tempo. Like Matt Campbell hasn't done that his entire tenure at Iowa State, but now with this young kid, they're kind of chunking the ball around a little bit, and their defense is not quite as good as it's been in years past. So I think TCU is more than willing to oblige a up-tempo game where they chunk it around. TCU's defense is not all that good either. We saw that in week 1 against Colorado. A total of 52.5 with 2 teams who are willing to throw the ball around a little bit and whose defenses are sort of below average. That is a low college total. And
what was that guy's name? Rocco, the quarterback?
Yeah. The quarterback.
Rocco Becht.
And typically this time of year, Iowa State, you start to worry a little bit about weather, rain, wind. It's going to be clear, sunny, reasonable temperatures. I don't see any reason this total is lower than 57, 58. It makes no sense to me. I think people kind of fell asleep at the wheel on Iowa State games early in the year and have not caught up to the fact that this is not the same old Matt Campbell offense from years past. I think they can get to the high 20s here with a 7-point line that tells me TCU plays in the mid 30s. I think this is a comfortable over. I think this is like 34-30.
I just want to say, Austin, you got bailed out with the wonder. Weather on Saturday, 9 miles an hour. Weather tomorrow, 22 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's ideal Saturday for points.
Oh, man.
And I think TCU beat them like 70 points last year, didn't they? They got the over by themselves.
Yeah.
It was something like 62-10, if I remember right.
I don't think they'll do that again, but like, is TCU, can they not get to 38 here? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they can. Yeah, 100%.
All right.
I got my last one if you need me to.
All right, go ahead.
So I went ahead and decided what's the last game of the night? What can we watch after the Ole Miss game and bet on something? And you're in luck. There's a lot of points to be had out in Southern Cal. It's over 72 with Arizona and USC. And the Arizona offense, I'm not sure is up to snuff here to get to 72, except for the fact that they're facing USC's defense, who is absolutely terrible. And USC, USC is a points machine, just going through 48, 42, 56, 66, and 56. I see no reason that they're going to put up less than 50. So Arizona's got to give me 3 touchdowns. I think they can do that. I mean, we saw what Colorado did, which, say what you will about Colorado. They're good, not great on really either side of the ball. But I mean, they backdoored it to 41 points last week. Again, Arizona State's just got to give me, or Arizona, it's just got to give me 3 touchdowns.
All right.
I like it.
Sticking with the Pac-12 and one of the forgotten teams, I'm going to head over to Berkeley, and I'm going to lay the 9 with Oregon State. I think the Beavers are solid. DJ Uiagalelei is kind of having a little bit of a renaissance out there with Jonathan Smith. I think they control this game. I don't think Cal is very good, and it's only two scores. Give me a 14-point win, nothing flashy, get in, get out, typical Jonathan Smith football. I like the Beavers. I was really close to pulling the trigger on Wazoo, but on the road, their defense is a little shaky at times, and Dante Moore is really good, and I think at home he can if it was at the Palouse, I would absolutely take Wazoo, but I'm going to go Beavers here. I think that Civil War later in the year is going to be a lot of fun between DJU and Bo Nix. But yeah, I like the Beavers here to get it done. So that is your 12 locks for week 6. As I said at the top of the show, we're 36-24 overall right now. Austin still leading the pack at 11-4. Ben and myself are tied at 9-6, and Nick, after a tough week, he is 7-8. So we're all Austin's cruising, but we're all right there at the.
I think
500.
I just can't get an undefeated week, man. It's like I'm 2-1 every week.
I say let's see. You're the only one without a 3-0 week so far.
Mm-hmm. I think I've not had other than week 1 or week 0. I don't think I've had a losing week either. Maybe I started off that way, but I think I've been 2-1 pretty much every week.
You did go 1-2 in week 4.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't remember that apparently.
But other than that, you've been a 2-1 machine. Yeah.
I ask people to judge me by my losers because I have so few.
Yeah, another look. It's not as good as week 5 or 4, but it's a solid week of games. Plenty of stuff to choose from while you are in the Grove, or you are at a bar, or you're just at the house getting ready for Ole Miss, Arkansas, 6:30 SEC Network at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. I believe we will all 4 be in attendance. We will all 4 be in the same zip code this weekend.
Very rare. Yep.
I will do my best to track everyone down. And we will we'll talk shop in person, getting ready for Saturday night's game against the Hogs as Ole Miss looks to move to 5-1 and get into that bye week as quick as possible. So with that, gentlemen, if we have nothing else, we can dip out of here and head into the weekend.
Quick thoughts on Red River?
Oh, yeah, we didn't even touch on that. My gut says Texas handles business.
Yeah, Texas claps them.
I kind of feel like they run away with it.
Kind of wanted the over, but I don't know. Their defense is kind of good, so
yeah.
Kwiatkowski's done a really nice job. I feel like they're going to get after Dylan Gabriel.
Texas on a one-way road to the college football playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm afraid so.
I think they're actually back for once.
Yeah, I think y'all are right.
Texas and Florida State in the college football playoff.
And Washington,
maybe, or Oregon.
Would watch that.
Washington are the only dogs that I say go for. Week 6, 12 locks for you right there. Make sure you check out homefieldapparel.com. Head over to College Corner. Go get you some meat at LB's. Plate lunches are back. Go snag you a plate lunch. I guarantee you will not have to wait in line like you will everywhere else in Oxford and on the square. For Austin, for Ben, for Nick over there, I am Zach. This has been Hit That Line. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Until next week, we out.